It's better than the $500 you're going to spend.
Entertainment business.
Writing, producing,
25.
acting.
Hi, and welcome back to the Casting Couch. I am Todd Stroik, your host.
And I'm your host, Katie Seeley. Today we have a writer-producer, Pete Goldfinger, with us. He's very successful in town. He wrote Sorority Row, Piranha 3D, and is currently executive producing a feature with Kristen Chenoweth and Mina Suvari.
So exciting.
Here he is, Pete
Goldfinger!
Goldfinger.
Yeah!
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Sure,
You
great to
think
be
of
here.
that? Like, do people
Thank you
sing
for
you
having
in
me.
a lot?
Yes, no, yeah, I get sung in a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, every now and then you get somebody who doesn't know if it's a movie or a song, you know, so they're like,
Yeah.
it's a,
Right.
wait, no, your last name is a, no, it's, wait, it's a son. And I'm like, yeah, just let's get on with this. I know it's both, that's the, you know.
All right, so let's get on with
All
that.
right.
Katie?
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well,
Experience in the
you did
industry?
such a good job of it.
Thank
You know, for years and years, I was trying to be a writer. There were like a lot of stop and goes, which I think a lot of actors also have. And you know, it's funny. I wrote comedy for a long time and had some success, but never getting anything made. You can make a whole living as a writer in LA, not getting things made, but writing stuff. And then we were doing comedy, but in about 2004. I think it was 2004. A couple of remakes. What were they? They were Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Dawn of the Dead. They did really well as a remakes. And my writing partner said we should find horror movies that, you know, obscure titles and just write them. Get the rights to them and write them. And I was like, I've never written a horror movie. I barely even watched them. Right. And so we did. We got the rights to Sorority Row and Piranha 3D, and those were the first two features I ever got made. And now, you know, I'm a horror writer. Who knew? You know.
That's exciting. Well,
Awesome.
congrats.
Yeah.
That's great. I know a lot of people want to be where you're at.
Well,
You know?
yes.
There's always some comedy scenes in the horror films. So
Yes,
you just-
yes. These days they want less and less of them, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so obviously the show is kind of geared towards actors. So there's actors out here who have been working, who have actor agents, right? Agents who cover them as actors. What about the actors out there who also claim to be writers, like myself? And we've written a couple scripts here and there. How do we go about getting a literary agent? Is that something we should have, or?
It's really a great question, and it's a hard thing to do. And you know, I get a lot of people that say, "I have the script. You know, what do I do with it?" You know, and it was always a tricky thing to answer because a lot of times what they're really asking is, "Will you show this to your agent?" You know, and you want to, but you just know that you know your agent isn't going to. My agent doesn't take on a lot of baby writers, so they probably wouldn't be. That's what they call new writers. They call them baby writers. But the greatest thing that's happened in the last year is the Blacklist, which is a annual publication of movies that have not been made, and they usually feature writers who you don't know much about. The Beaver was #1 on the Blacklist. I think that writer was like doing sheetrock and laundromats at the time, and it was #1 on the Blacklist. Jodie Foster directed it. Mel Gibson starred in it right before things went sour for him. But so it's a way that people can sort of break in. And now, just in the last year, they will take blind. So you can submit your script. They will post it on their website, and if you pay $50, they'll have someone read it.
Oh,
Great.
wow.
So I just want to say one thing, which is a student of mine had written the script for 4 months. She couldn't get a whiff, passing it around to everybody else. She put it on the Blacklist. It went to #1 for unrepresented writers.
Okay.
Wow.
She's an actor. She signed with Paradigm both as a literary and an actor.
Wow.
And she
Best
got her
case
movie
scenario.
option. So that's
Oh my god.
it makes my job so much easier when people ask because it really
Yeah,
does
it really
work. And I
does
have
work.
other people that have gotten agents, and you know it's a great way in. It's
Blacklist.
changing everything. It's called the Blacklist.
Right,
I really recommend it.
And you also mentioned that this is a student of yours.
Yeah.
So you teach.
I teach, yes.
Let's talk
Yeah,
about that real
well,
quick.
so I teach a couple of classes, and one of them is actually called, one's a screenwriting class, and the other is a create your own class. And it really goes into the odds and ends of how an actor can create their own material, because right now, you guys probably know this, it's the best time in the world to be an actor-writer. I mean, the way to break into this business, I think, as an actor, is to write your own material. You know?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Another question I have for you is, say I'm a baby, right? A baby.
Yeah, baby writer, there you go, yeah.
And I want to get my script noticed. How do you go about finding like a writer who's already established in the business to take on your work as a co-writer? Or do people
like
do
find a
that?
writer
Like they kind of
partner?
put their name in. and then
That's
go
not
through it?
that's not a common thing.
It's not,
to be
okay.
totally honest. You know, it's hard because you know the thing about this business, whether you're an actor or a writer, and you're asking someone above you to help you, which is it's the only way, you know, in a lot of ways. But you know, we all have a certain amount of we all have a certain amount of chips in this business. Some people who just get here, they have maybe one chip, which is they have a pretty face, or they know Taekwondo. That's their one chip. Then as you acquire more chips, like maybe I have 30 chips, and maybe Steven Spielberg has 1 million chips. Right. Every time you go to bat for somebody, you're putting some of your chips in.
Right.
And how many do you want to put in for the project that someone's? Because if you send it to somebody and they hate it, you can never go to that person again.
Right.
You can go to them for yourself, but so that's, and I think that's true all across Hollywood. If I get a project I love, it's worth it to me to put my chips in, because I think if it comes back, it's a good bet.
Right.
I'm sorry to
so it's a gamble.
It's a gamble. Yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble. You're
absolutely.
This is the thing everybody should know. Don't look at anybody above you and think you're doing them a favor by giving them your script. You're not. It's you're asking them for a huge favor
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah.
As a writer, you've also gotten into producing, which it seems like more and more people that I meet in this town wear multiple hats, which I don't know if that was always the case years ago. Yeah. But it seems like nowadays it's just so much easier to do so. Do you think that's important for actors?
To get into producing?
Producing, writing?
Yeah, I think, like I said, you were saying you got to wear a lot of different hats. There was a time when you could arrive in Hollywood with a headshot. Now that nobody, when my nephew did this thing called The Moth, which is a storytelling competition, and afterwards somebody came up to him, an agent came up to him and said, are you an actor? I'd like you to send me your stuff. And he goes, well, I have a headshot and resume. And he goes, do you have anything up at Actors Access? Yeah. Do you have any video? Like, headshots don't do it anymore. You have to be, I can't stress it enough. In 5 years, everybody's going to think, why didn't I generate my own material? That's what I should have been doing the whole time I was sitting on my sofa waiting for my agent to call. That's what I should have been doing.
Absolutely.
Tip for you guys.
Yeah.
I have a question about pitch meetings. So you write your script and you get that meeting that you've been wanting so bad. What happens? Can you walk us through that?
Well, yes. Well, first of all, if your script has already been read, it probably won't be a pitch meeting because they've read the material. So a pitch meeting is usually you have an idea, and you want. In fact, for television, very few people write the script beforehand. You go in and you pitch an idea. It's called pitch season. So when it comes to pitching, I like to start off with a story that shows how this relates. And for example, I once sold a show called Rules for Roommates. And at the time that I moved out here with a couple of actors of name. So they would recognize those actors and think, oh, this guy's somebody, So they're listening. You always try to get them to be leaning forward. And I told a story that involved someone being very upset about their dishes always being dirty. Everybody would always use their dishes and get them dirty. So he walked out into the living room and took every dish and touched it to his penis so that nobody would ever use his dishes again. I don't know if that's okay to say. So I'm just saying that was a story that everybody in the room seemed to think was really funny. And it sets, they can see a TV show, maybe not as graphic, about that group of, because everybody has roommates, it's universal. So then you break into what your pitch is. And this particular pitch was Rules for Roommates, and every show would start with a rule for roommates, and then the show itself would sort of illustrate that rule. So that's how a pitch goes. But here's what you want to hit if you're doing a pitch. Why America would want to see it. So you start with a general thing. You want to know who the characters are. If they can't see 6 characters that they can see the dynamics of everybody, how everybody contributes, for 200 episodes. For 200 episodes is the biggest thing you need to be thinking when you're pitching TV.
200 episodes.
Well, that's ideally. That's Friends.
Right.
That's they're looking for 7 seasons. And so that's where the syndication money is and all that stuff. So almost more important than the idea, which is very important, is the characters. But I'll tell you one interesting story about casting that I think really is a great thing for actors to know. I was working on a show for NBC a few years back. And we had this girl who came in and just nailed it. The showrunner was saying things to like, oh my God, it was great, whispering, talking to her. Are you free next week? Are there any days you can't make it? Great, we're going to be in touch with your agent. That read was great. So she walks out thinking, I got the part, and she did. So 2 hours later, this guy comes in, and he's all wrong for the part, but he's this heavy guy. He's never worked before. He has since. I've seen him a lot of times. And he just played the part. It was like for this cocky, handsome guy. But he played it as this cocky, fat guy, and it was so funny that they cast him.
Okay.
The problem is it was no longer believable that he would have that girl.
Right.
So she doesn't get the part, and in her mind, she's wondering what happened.
Right.
If she had a million guesses as to why she didn't get the part, do you think she would ever have guessed that it was because she was too attractive to go out and the whole spiel? Right. And the point is, I'd love to set up a website called A Million Reasons You Didn't Get the Part to show that. To sit back and wonder why you thought the audition, you have no idea why you didn't get the part. So stop thinking about it.
Stop worrying about it.
And it often has nothing to do with you. We had a script we were working on. It was a pilot, and they kept saying to us, there's this one character, there's these two characters, we don't really know who they are, and their stuff's a little flat as a result. Can you make them a little bit bigger? So as a result, we take this one guy who's killing it, who's like the best thing in the show, and we shorten him down because we have to make room to get to know these characters. Right. So the pilot suffers. He's sitting there in his trailer thinking, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm killing it in rehearsal and they're cutting me down.
Right.
It's because of a note that he never could have guessed.
Exactly.
You know, stop thinking about why you didn't get a part.
Right.
Stop thinking about why they're making your part smaller. I promise you the odds that it has something to do with you is 5%.
Right.
Really.
And earlier you mentioned showrunner. For our audience that doesn't know what that is, can you explain what a showrunner does?
A showrunner is an EP. There are a few EPs on a show.
Executive
producer, but they run it. The show. I can only explain it by the word showrunner. Okay. They run the show. They run every aspect of the show. There's a line producer. The line producer does all the sort of financial and logistical things. And that's a very important, but it's a non-creative. It's usually a non-creative job. Okay. And then his job is to do all the creating, the casting. He doesn't do the directing, but they run the show. They run the writers. They run the writers' room. Is mostly what they do. Yeah.
Really interesting. It's good for people, our audience, who doesn't know what those. Those.
I had a question about earlier. You said how the role was originally written for like an attractive man, and then they cast this heavy man in it because it was so much funnier. When you see your films come to life,
good, yeah.
I mean, are those actors reflections of something you saw in your mind? Or
no, there never are.
No?
And the best thing of all is when they really surprise you. I mean, Jerry O'Connell, you know, was so good in Piranha 3D. I really loved him. And I have to tell you, I was a producer on.
You didn't picture that when you were writing it.
No, I also was a producer on Piranha 3 Double D. The one that nobody's heard about that went straight to video. And you know, there are certainly issues with that movie, as there are with any movies. There's some good stuff in it too. David Hasselhoff is amazing playing a shitty version of himself. Right. It's like one of my favorite performances he's ever done. So that I never saw that coming, you know, when it was that he would, you know, kill it the way he did. And you know, a lot of times you're pleasantly surprised, you know.
Right.
That's what I would say.
Do you have any last bits of advice or tips for actors out there who are thinking about getting into writing, or even just actors who may be watching the show?
Yeah. One thing I would advise is, you know, people are trying to create a lot of times viral videos or shorts, and the biggest mistake they do is they make it too long. These things should be 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. That's number one. Number two, don't try to make a movie. If you have like a short, funny bit that happens. There was a movie, a short film that they actually used to show in movie theaters, and I use it because it's this woman preparing to go on a date, right? And she's eating like a can of beans before she gets out. Right. I don't know if you guys remember this. Her date picks her up, puts her in the car, and he walks around to get the other side, and she farts really loudly. And I'm using a gross example for purpose.
That's right. We like gross
examples. He gets in the car, and it's this really loud, prolonged fart. And then he gets in the car, and he says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I brought my friends Steve and Lisa." And the camera pulls back, and they're in the back seat. But the point, the reason I bring this up is it's such a short, specific thing. These long, if you have this big thing you want to say, this large statement, don't try and make a short. Something really small and simple that can be shown in 3 minutes. One of my biggest edicts when I teach people is familiar but original. You want to come up with something that everybody instantly identifies with, but is also original, and you know it in a minute. So when you see Darth Vader working in a supermarket, you don't have to do a lot. We know why this is funny.
Right.
I'll give another example. I always tell my students when they're coming up with ideas that, you know, I want it in a log line so I can understand the whole idea. I had a student once say, okay, the name of this movie is Groomzilla. And I said, stop. I get the whole movie. Right. I see that whole movie. It's simple. It's basically a guy puts on a magic wedding ring. His wife thinks, I wish he could see this the way I do. And it's a guy standing in front of a mirror, looking at himself in a tuxedo saying, I'll know the right one when I cry. You know, like that's basically, so you can see the whole thing in your head.
Right.
That's what you're looking for when you're doing something that is familiar, but totally original.
If our audience wants to follow what you're doing or working on, do you have a
Oh yeah, they can go to PeteGoldfinger.com, and they can, if they want to, there's classes and there's some privates and things like that. But I don't teach, I mean, the classes don't come up all that often, but I love to do it. Also, I just wanted to say that, you know, for actors, the time to make your own stuff, short videos, viral videos, web series, it's the easiest time to do it now because it's also so cheap. I mean, the quality that you can get on a Red or on some of these, you know, $5,000 cameras is better than what independent movies looked like 15 years ago.
It's crazy.
You know, it's also, you know, you can edit right on your Macintosh. I mean, Louis C.K., who does his show Louis. He edits that on a laptop. He edits the whole thing himself on a laptop.
Wow.
You know, a show that's appearing on network television.
Right.
It couldn't be any cheaper to do it now. And you know, all these actors who say, "Oh, if I could just get my big break."
Yeah.
Right.
Your big break
Make
is
your big
your
break.
big break could be shot tomorrow if you
Yeah.
came up with the idea, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a great time to be an actor. You don't have to sit on your ass. You can do whatever you want.
Unless you're on the casting couch, then you can sit on your ass.
That's
all you
right.
want.
That's right.
That's what
And
we
with
do all
that,
day
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's been really
no,
good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here.
It was
Yeah,
such
this
a
is so
pleasure.
fun. This is such a great crew too. This is like a really fun
Yeah.
place to be.
We like them.
I encourage other people to come and do it because you guys are really
Oh,
all a
thank
delight.
you.
Everybody
So
here is a
kind.
delight.
Well, I know our viewers learned a ton from you today. Thank
Absolutely.
you so
I'm
much
not
for
so
sharing.
sure, but that's okay.
Thank you
Well,
so
we
much
said
for
that.
tuning in this week. I'm your host, Todd Stroik. You can find me on Twitter at Todd Stroik.
And I'm your host, Katie Seeley. You can find me on Twitter at _Katie Seeley.
Do not forget, please like our Facebook page, The Casting Couch Show.
And if you are watching this on YouTube, please click below and subscribe to our channel for lots more interesting information.
Yeah, good, interesting information.
Pertinent.
Very
interesting
pertinent.
information.
All right, thanks again. We'll see you next time here on The Casting Couch.
Sparkles and flashes in California. Paper hose and playboys pump me full of celluloid. We keep it tight almost every night. Red carpet style in the door to five. We do it right.